A rancher bathes where he shouldn't, and the Apache chief roars, "Whoever touches this water will marry my daughter, /." Thomas, a rancher who had spent most of his life working the land, woke up early as usual. He had a small ranch not far from the hills, and his days were filled with hard work, tending to his cattle, repairing fences, and caring for the horses that were his constant companions. But this morning, Thomas felt a pull toward a part of the land he had never visited before. He had heard stories from travelers and neighboring ranchers about a hidden valley with a clear, cool stream, perfect for drinking water and washing up after the long, hot days on the plains. The thought of finding this secret place filled him with curiosity and excitement. Thomas mounted his horse, a strong brown stallion named Bramble, and rode toward the hills. The journey was not easy. The terrain grew rocky and the path narrowed as he climbed higher. The air was cooler at the top and he could see for miles. Rolling plains stretched on one side, while thick forests covered the slopes on the other. The sun was high now, casting sharp shadows on the ground. Thomas's face glistened with sweat as he navigated the rough trail, but the thought of finding water kept him moving forward. After hours of riding, he finally reached the edge of a small valley hidden between two hills. At first, he could not see the stream. Only the sound of birds and the rustling of leaves filled the quiet air. Then he noticed a glimmer of sunlight reflecting off the water between the rocks. His heart leapt with joy. The stream was even more beautiful than he had imagined. Clear water flowed gently over smooth stones, creating tiny ripples that sparkled in the sunlight. On the banks, wildflowers grew in clusters, adding bursts of color to the green grass. Thomas felt a sense of peace wash over him, as if he had discovered a secret world untouched by time. Bramble whinnied softly, sensing Thomas's excitement. The rancher dismounted, patting his horse on the neck. "Easy there, boy. We've found something special," he whispered. He walked closer to the stream, running his hands over the cool water. It felt refreshing, and he could not resist the temptation to bathe in the gentle flow. He glanced around, making sure he was alone. The valley seemed empty, quiet except for the soft hum of nature. He set down his bag and began to remove his clothes, feeling the warm sun on his skin and the cool breeze on his face. Thomas stepped into the shallow water, letting it wash over his tired body. The sensation was heavenly after the long ride under the scorching sun. He closed his eyes, leaning back against a smooth rock, and listened to the gentle gurgle of the stream. The birds sang in harmony, and a deer appeared briefly at the edge of the valley before disappearing into the trees. Thomas felt a connection with the land in a way he had never experienced before. For a moment, he forgot about the world outside this hidden valley. Here it was just him, the water, and the quiet beauty of nature. But as Thomas enjoyed the water, he remained unaware that this stream was not ordinary. High above the valley, hidden among the trees, the eyes of the Apache chief Nahoya were watching. The chief was a tall, strong man with a stern face and eyes that seemed to see everything. He had lived all his life protecting the land and its sacred places. To him, the stream was not just water. It was a gift from the ancestors, a place that had been cared for by the tribe for generations. Seeing a stranger in the stream filled him with anger, but he also felt the weight of tradition. The rules were clear, and anyone who touched the sacred water had to face the consequences. Thomas continued to bathe, completely unaware of the approaching danger. He was humming softly, thinking about how much he wished he could bring Bramble to this place more often. The valley felt like a hidden paradise, a place that belonged to no one yet seemed to welcome him. He splashed water over his face, laughing quietly at the coolness that chased away the fatigue of the long ride. Every muscle in his body relaxed, and he felt lighter, as if the water itself was cleansing not only his skin but also his mind and spirit. Meanwhile, Chief Nahoya signaled to his warriors, who quietly moved through the forest, their footsteps careful not to disturb the animals. The chief's voice, low and commanding, warned them of the seriousness of the situation. "The river is sacred. He must understand the rules," Nahoya said. The warriors nodded, knowing the importance of this moment. The stranger in the water had unknowingly crossed a line, and the chief's word would decide what happened next. Back at the stream, Thomas noticed the shadow of a figure moving in the distance. He assumed it was a deer or a fox, part of the wildlife that inhabited the valley. He waved casually, thinking nothing of it. But then, a deep, commanding voice broke the silence, echoing through the valley. "Whoever touches this water will marry my daughter." Thomas froze, water dripping from his hair. His eyes widened as he looked around, trying to find the source of the voice. Out of the trees stepped Chief Nahoya, his expression stern, his posture proud. Thomas's heart pounded in his chest. He had never seen a man like this before, strong, confident, and unyielding. The chief's voice carried the weight of authority, and Thomas realized that he was in serious trouble. He stepped back from the water, raising his hands in a gesture of apology. I didn't know," he stammered. "I didn't mean any disrespect. I was just thirsty and tired." The chief's eyes softened slightly as he listened but did not waver. "Rules are rules. This water is sacred. You must understand that," Nahoya said. Thomas nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and respect. He had always believed in fairness and honesty, and now he realized that respecting other people's traditions was just as important as any law he had ever followed. The valley, once a place of peace, now held tension, and Thomas knew that his life would change because of this encounter. The moment was quiet for a few long seconds. Birds stopped singing, and even Bramble seemed to sense the seriousness of the situation. Thomas took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. He had made a mistake, but he hoped that the chief would see his sincerity. "I am sorry," he said again. "I did not know this water was sacred. I will do whatever I must to make amends." Chief Nahoya studied the rancher carefully. He could see the honesty in Thomas's eyes, the respect that was born not out of fear but from genuine understanding. "The river is more than water," the chief said softly. "It holds the spirit of our people. You must honor it, or you will face the consequences." Thomas nodded solemnly. He realized that he had entered a world far different from the plains he knew, a world of deep traditions and unspoken rules that demanded respect. As the sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, Thomas stepped out of the stream, drying himself with a cloth from his bag. Bramble nuzzled his shoulder, sensing the shift in the air. The rancher followed Chief Nahoya back toward the edge of the forest, curious and cautious about what was coming next. He had never imagined that a simple act of bathing in a stream could lead to such a dramatic encounter, but he felt ready to face the challenges ahead. In the quiet valley, the water continued to flow, untouched and pure. The wildflowers swayed gently in the breeze, and the trees whispered secrets of the past. Thomas walked beside the chief, realizing that this day would be remembered forever. The hidden stream, the sacred rules, and the unexpected meeting with the Apache chief had opened a new chapter in his life, one that promised adventure, understanding, and perhaps even a deeper connection to the land he loved so much. Thomas followed Chief Nahoya through the thick trees at the edge of the valley. The forest was quiet, filled with the soft sounds of birds and rustling leaves. He felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. He had never been so close to a community that lived entirely by their own rules and traditions. Every step he took seemed heavier than the last, knowing that he had accidentally broken one of those rules. Yet, Thomas also felt a strange excitement. This was a new world, different from his ranch and the wide plains he had always known. The chief led him to a clearing where several members of the Apache tribe were gathered. They were all watching Thomas closely, their expressions serious but not unkind. Some were young, some old, but each person carried a quiet strength. Thomas bowed slightly, trying to show respect. I am sorry," he said. I did not know the stream was sacred. I would never wish to disrespect your people." His voice trembled, but he spoke from the heart. Chief Nahoya nodded, acknowledging Thomas's words, but he did not speak immediately. The silence stretched, and Thomas felt as if the eyes of the entire tribe were upon him. Finally, the chief spoke, his deep voice echoing through the clearing. "Rules are the threads that hold our people together. Breaking them is not a small matter, but your heart seems true. You must understand, the water belongs to my people. Anyone who touches it must marry my daughter." Thomas blinked, confused and astonished. He had never imagined that such a rule existed. Marry the chief's daughter. It sounded impossible, and yet the chief's voice left no room for argument. He realized that this was not a threat, but a serious tradition. He swallowed hard, trying to think of a way to show his respect and understanding. I will do whatever is required," he said finally, hoping that his sincerity would be enough. The chief turned and called a young woman from the back of the clearing. She was Ayana, the chief's daughter. Her long dark hair was braided neatly, and her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She looked at Thomas with a mixture of curiosity and caution. She had never met a stranger like him before. Most outsiders never came close to their sacred valley. Seeing him here in their special place was both surprising and troubling. She approached slowly, her gaze never leaving his face. Thomas bowed slightly again. "I apologize for my mistake," he said. "I did not know, but I wish to learn and make amends. I respect your people, your traditions, and your land." Iana studied him carefully. She could sense that he was sincere, not just polite. There was a quiet honesty in his words that few outsiders possessed. Still, she could not ignore the rule her father had declared. This was a matter of honor for the tribe, and it must be followed carefully. Chief Nahoya spoke again. "Thomas, if you are to stay in our valley, you must show that you understand our ways. Our land is not only water and trees, it is spirit and history. You must prove that you are willing to respect and protect it as we do." Thomas nodded eagerly. "I will do everything I can, I promise." The chief's eyes softened slightly, though his expression remained firm. "Very well, your journey begins now," he said, signaling to the tribe. Over the next few days, Thomas began to learn the ways of the Apache people. Every morning, he woke before sunrise to help with daily chores. He learned to tend the horses, feed the animals, and help gather food. The work was harder than he had imagined. The horses were strong and sometimes stubborn, the chores endless, and the forest full of challenges he had never faced on his own ranch. But Thomas did not give up. Each time he struggled, he reminded himself that this was part of the path he had entered. Iana watched him closely. At first, she kept her distance, unsure of how this outsider would adapt to their life. But as she observed Thomas's efforts, she began to notice something remarkable. He was not just working to survive. He was learning, listening, and showing respect for every task. He asked questions about their rituals, their stories, and the sacred places in the valley. His curiosity was genuine, and he did not try to change their ways to suit himself. One morning, Thomas accompanied Ayana to the edge of the forest, where they were gathering berries and herbs. She taught him the names of the plants and their uses, showing him which could be eaten and which were for medicine. Thomas listened carefully, repeating the names until he remembered them. He laughed when he mispronounced one, and Ayana could not help but smile. For the first time, there was a sense of ease between them. She realized that he was not just an outsider. He was someone who could become part of their world if he continued to show respect. Days turned into a week, and Thomas's skills grew. He could ride the horses with confidence, understand the basic rules of the tribe, and help in ways that were genuinely useful. The tribe began to accept him, though the chief still watched him carefully. Thomas felt a sense of belonging that he had never known. It was not the wide open plains or his small ranch that made him happy now. It was the connection to the people, the land, and the traditions he had once unknowingly disturbed. One evening, as the sun set over the valley, Thomas and Ayanna sat by the sacred stream. The water sparkled in the last light of the day, and the air was filled with the sound of crickets and the gentle rustle of leaves. Thomas spoke softly. "I never imagined a place like this existed. It's beautiful, peaceful. I am grateful that you are letting me be here." Ayanna nodded, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sunset. "This is our home," she said, "and it is sacred. You must always remember that. But you are trying, Thomas. I see it, and it matters." Thomas smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. It was the first time he truly felt understood in a long while. He realized that respect and effort were more powerful than words alone. The chief's daughter, once a stranger, had become a guide and friend. Their bond grew quietly, built on patience and understanding. Neither rushed the process, knowing that the traditions of the tribe were to be honored above all else. However, not everything was simple. Some of the older members of the tribe were skeptical of Thomas. They remembered outsiders who had come and caused trouble, taking from the land without care. Thomas had to work hard to show them that he was different. He listened more than he spoke, followed their instructions carefully, and treated the land with care. Slowly, the whispers of doubt began to fade, replaced by cautious approval. One day, Chief Nahoya called Thomas to the center of the village. The elders gathered around, their expressions solemn. "Thomas," the chief said, "you have shown patience, respect, and courage. But our ways are not only about work, they are about understanding life and spirit. There are more lessons for you, and you must continue to learn." Thomas nodded, ready to accept whatever challenges were ahead. "I understand, Chief Nahoya. I will do my best." The chief's eyes softened as he looked at his daughter. "Yana, you have seen his heart. You will guide him as your ancestors have guided our people. But remember, this is not just about him. It is about respect, tradition, and the land. Thomas must earn his place fully, not just for himself, but for all of us." Yana inclined her head, understanding the weight of her father's words. She had already begun to admire Thomas, but she knew that the journey was not over. As the sun disappeared behind the hills, Thomas felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. He had survived the first trials, learned the daily life of the tribe, and even begun to form a connection with Ayanna. But he knew there was more to come. The Apache people were proud and strong, and their traditions ran deep. To truly belong, he would have to show even greater understanding, patience, and courage. That night, as Thomas lay on a blanket outside the village, listening to the sounds of the forest, he thought about the path ahead. He had entered the valley as a stranger, unaware of the sacred rules and traditions. Now he was part of something greater than himself, a community that valued respect, honor, and harmony with nature. He felt grateful for the opportunity, and though challenges awaited, he was ready to face them. For Thomas, this was more than a trial. It was a lesson in life, humility, and understanding. And though he did not know the future, he was determined to honor the trust placed in him. The stream, once a simple place of refreshment, had become the start of a journey that would change him forever. And in the quiet valley, under the watchful eyes of Chief Nahoya and the curious gaze of Ayanna, Thomas knew that his life had taken a turn towards something extraordinary. The next morning, Thomas woke before sunrise as usual. The air was crisp, and the valley was bathed in a soft golden light. Birds chirped high in the trees, and the gentle sound of the stream nearby added to the calm of the early hour. Today, however, Thomas knew that his work would not be limited to chores. Chief Nahoya had told him that to truly be accepted by the tribe, he needed to face trials that tested not only his strength but also his understanding, patience, and respect for the land. After breakfast, Ayanna came to find him. She was carrying a small bundle of herbs and plants, carefully tied together. "Thomas," she said, her voice calm but serious, "today you will begin your first trial. You must gather plants from the forest, but not just any plants. Each has a purpose." Some are for medicine, some for food, and some for ceremonies. You must recognize each one and show care when collecting them. Do you understand? Thomas nodded. Yes, Ayana, I will be careful. I will learn and do my best. He followed her into the forest, careful to step lightly and avoid disturbing the soil or plants unnecessarily. The forest was dense, with sunlight filtering through the leaves in shifting patterns. Every step seemed to carry importance, and Thomas felt the weight of responsibility. He knew that this trial was not simply about work. It was about respect for life and the traditions of the Apache people. Gianna pointed to a patch of wildflowers growing near a stream. These are for ceremonies, she explained. They are delicate. You must not pull too hard or take more than needed. Touch them gently and they will keep their spirit. Thomas approached slowly, bending over to examine the flowers. He marveled at their colors and softness, realizing that even a small mistake could show disrespect. Carefully, he gathered only what was needed, handling each plant with care. They moved deeper into the forest, and Ayana explained the uses of different plants. Some were for healing wounds, others for soothing fevers, and some were used in special rituals. Thomas listened closely, repeating their names and purposes until he could remember them. He worked steadily, sometimes pausing to observe the birds or the insects that lived among the plants. Ayana watched him, impressed by his patience and attention to detail. Unlike many outsiders, Thomas was not rushing or acting carelessly. He was learning with respect. After several hours, they returned to the village with their collection. Chief Nahoya and the elders examined Thomas's work. They were silent as they checked each plant, testing his knowledge and his care. When they finished, the chief spoke. "You have done well," he said. "You did not take more than needed. You did not disturb the forest. This shows understanding and respect, but this is only the beginning." Thomas felt a sense of relief but also knew that greater challenges awaited. "Thank you, Chief Nahoya," he said humbly. "I will continue to learn and do my best." The chief nodded and motioned for him to follow. "Your next trial will test your strength and courage. You must retrieve water from the mountain spring on the other side of the valley. The path is steep and rocky, and only those who are careful and determined can succeed. Go with care, Thomas." Thomas prepared himself for the climb. He carried a small container for the water and set out with determination. The path up the mountain was difficult. Loose rocks shifted under his feet, and the incline made his legs ache. He paused several times to catch his breath and to plan his steps carefully. He knew that rushing could be dangerous, and that patience and caution were as important as strength. As he climbed, he looked back at the valley below. The village looked small from this height, and the stream where he had first bathed glimmered in the sunlight like a ribbon of silver. Halfway up the mountain, Thomas encountered a narrow ledge above a steep drop. He carefully balanced, placing each foot deliberately. The wind blew gently, and he felt a shiver of fear, but he focused on the path. He remembered Ayana's words, "Respect the land, respect the challenge, and respect yourself." Taking a deep breath, he moved slowly and steadily, keeping his eyes on the trail ahead. After what felt like an eternity, he reached the mountain spring. The spring was smaller than the valley stream, but no less beautiful. Water bubbled up from the rocks, clear and pure. Thomas knelt to fill his container, watching the water flow over the stones. The mountain air was cool and refreshing, and he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had reached the top safely and completed the task. Carefully, he carried the water back down the mountain, mindful of each step and determined not to spill a drop. When he returned to the village, the chief and the elders were waiting. Chief Nahoya examined the container of water. "You have returned safely," he said. "You moved with care and thoughtfulness. Strength alone is not enough. Courage and respect must guide every action. You have shown this." Thomas bowed, feeling proud but humble. "Thank you, Chief. I understand now that every action carries meaning. I will continue to learn." In the following days, Thomas faced additional trials. He helped repair fences around the village, learning to handle tools with care. He assisted in guiding the horses through the rugged terrain, earning their trust with patience and gentle hands. Each task tested his determination and his understanding of the tribe's way of life. Every evening, he would speak with Ayana, discussing what he had learned and asking questions about their customs. She encouraged him, offering advice and sharing stories of her people. Through these conversations, Thomas began to see the depth of the tribe's wisdom and the connection between their traditions and the land. One afternoon, the chief asked Thomas to participate in a hunting practice. "This is not about killing," Chief Nahoya explained. "It is about understanding the balance of life. You must move quietly, observe carefully, and take only what is necessary. Respect the animals, respect the land, and respect the spirit of our people." Thomas followed the chief and a few warriors into the forest. They moved silently, watching the paths of deer and other animals. Thomas learned to notice small signs, broken twigs, footprints, rustling leaves, that revealed where the animals had passed. He realized that hunting required patience, observation, and respect, not force. Through these trials, Thomas's bond with Ayana grew stronger. She had once watched him with caution, but now she saw his determination, honesty, and respect for their ways. They laughed together when he stumbled or mispronounced the names of plants, shared quiet moments observing the sunrise or sunset, and spoke of their dreams for the future. Ayana began to admire his courage and his willingness to learn, while Thomas felt a growing respect and affection for her wisdom, strength, and kindness. One evening, after a long day of work, Thomas sat by the sacred stream, reflecting on his journey. The water sparkled under the moonlight, and the sounds of the forest surrounded him. He thought about how far he had come, from accidentally bathing in the sacred water to learning the ways of the tribe and facing difficult trials. He realized that the journey had changed him. He was not the same man who had arrived at the valley a week ago. He had learned humility, patience, respect, and the importance of understanding life beyond himself. As he sat there, Chief Nahoya approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thomas," the chief said, "you have done well in your trials. You have shown courage, respect, and determination. But the greatest test is yet to come. You must prove that your heart is as strong as your actions, that your respect for our people and our land is sincere. Only then will you be truly accepted." Thomas nodded solemnly. "I understand, Chief Nahoya. I will do my best as I have from the beginning." The chief looked toward Ayana. "You will guide him through the next trial," he said. "Show him what it means to truly honor our traditions and the spirit of our people. If he succeeds, he will have earned a place in our hearts, and perhaps in your heart as well." Ayana nodded, a small smile on her lips. She felt a sense of hope that Thomas could succeed, not just for himself but for the bond that had begun to grow between them. That night, Thomas lay on his blanket under the stars, thinking about the trials he had faced and the ones that awaited him. He felt a mix of excitement, nervousness, and determination. He had learned so much, but he knew that his journey was far from over. The lessons of the tribe were deep and meaningful, and he was ready to continue learning. He felt grateful for the opportunity to prove himself, to earn respect, and to grow as a person. In the quiet valley, the sacred stream flowed gently, reflecting the light of the moon. Thomas knew that it was more than water. It was a symbol of the connection between people, land, and spirit. He felt honored to be part of this world, even temporarily, and he vowed to continue showing respect, courage, and understanding in all that he did. His journey had begun with a mistake, but it was leading him toward something greater: friendship, respect, and perhaps even love. The morning air was cool and fresh as Thomas awoke. The sun had not yet risen, and the valley was wrapped in a quiet stillness. Today would be different from the previous days. Chief Nahoya had warned him that the next set of trials would test more than just his strength and patience. They would test his courage, his wisdom, and his heart. Thomas understood that this was the crucial stage of his journey. He was no longer a stranger in the valley. He was learning to become part of a world far greater than the ranch he had known all his life. Yana came to find him at dawn, carrying a small bundle of supplies and a look of quiet determination. "Thomas," she said, "today you will face a trial that will challenge your courage and your respect for the land. You must travel to the northern cliffs, collect rare herbs, and return safely. But the cliffs are steep and dangerous. You must show caution, strength, and patience." "Are you ready?" Thomas nodded firmly. "I am ready, Ayana. I will do my best." He knew that rushing or being careless could lead to failure or worse. He had learned from the previous trials that patience and respect were just as important as bravery. He took a deep breath and set off with Ayana guiding him along the narrow paths of the forest. The air smelled of pine and earth, and the morning sunlight painted golden streaks across the trees. As they climbed higher, the terrain grew rougher. Loose rocks and steep slopes required careful navigation. Thomas focused on every step, mindful not to disturb the fragile environment. Gianna walked beside him, observing quietly, ready to help if needed but allowing him to face the challenge on his own. Thomas could feel the strain in his muscles, but he welcomed it. Every step he took was a test of his determination and his respect for the land he had once unknowingly disrespected. When they reached the northern cliffs, the view took Thomas's breath away. The valley stretched far below, the sacred stream glittering like silver in the sunlight. The cliffs rose sharply, jagged and dangerous, yet beautiful in their raw majesty. Yana pointed to small patches of herbs growing among the rocks. "These are rare and powerful," she explained. "They are used in ceremonies and for healing. You must collect them carefully without damaging the land around them." Thomas knelt down, examining the herbs. He could feel the importance of each plant. Every leaf, every flower carried meaning, and he knew that careless handling would be disrespectful. With steady hands, he began to gather the herbs, making sure not to pull too hard or disturb the surrounding rocks. He felt a sense of connection to the land, as if it recognized his effort and care. The wind blew gently against his face, and he realized that courage was not only about strength, it was about respect and mindfulness. Suddenly, a small rock shifted beneath his hand, and Thomas froze. The cliff's edge was nearby, and one wrong move could be dangerous. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. Carefully, he shifted his weight and regained a safe position. Yana watched silently, impressed by his calm and focus. "Well done, Thomas," she said softly. "You are learning that courage is not rushing into danger but facing it wisely." After collecting the herbs, they began the descent. The cliffs required careful navigation, and Thomas moved slowly, making sure each step was secure. When they reached the base safely, he felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had experienced before. Chief Nahoya would see his effort, his courage, and his respect for the land. Thomas realized that each trial was not only about proving himself, but also about understanding the deeper meaning of life, respect, and responsibility. Over the next few days, Thomas faced additional challenges that tested different aspects of his character. He helped the tribe prepare for a seasonal celebration, assisting in arranging ceremonial spaces and learning the rituals involved. He participated in exercises that strengthened his connection to the land, such as tracking animal movements, observing natural patterns, and understanding the delicate balance between taking from nature and protecting it. Each trial required thought, care, and attention to detail. Thomas embraced them all, determined to prove himself worthy of the tribe's trust. Iana remained a constant guide and companion. She taught Thomas not only about the practical aspects of their life, but also about the stories, songs, and beliefs of her people. In the evenings, they would sit by the sacred stream, sharing quiet conversations about their experiences, dreams, and hopes. Thomas found himself learning more than he could have imagined. He admired Ayana's strength, intelligence, and deep connection to her people. At the same time, he felt a growing warmth in his heart, a bond that went beyond friendship or duty. One afternoon, Chief Nahoya approached Thomas with a serious expression. "Thomas," he said, "you have shown courage and respect, but there is one more trial that will test the strength of your heart. You must help the tribe in a difficult task that requires teamwork, wisdom, and patience. This task will show if you truly belong here, not only as a worker, but as someone who honors our traditions and our people." The next day, Thomas was tasked with helping relocate a group of young animals to a safer part of the valley. The area where they were living had become dangerous due to sudden changes in the weather, and the animals could not survive without assistance. Thomas worked alongside the warriors and other members of the tribe, carefully moving each animal without causing them stress or harm. The task was challenging, requiring patience, careful planning, and physical effort. Thomas felt his strength tested, but he also felt a deep sense of fulfillment as he saw the animals safely reach their new home. During this time, Thomas and Ayana continued to grow closer. They shared stories of their childhoods, their dreams, and the lessons they had learned from their families. Thomas spoke of his life on the ranch, the responsibilities he carried, and the love he had for the land. Ayana shared stories of her people, the importance of the sacred stream, and the meaning behind each ritual and tradition. Their bond deepened, built on mutual respect, understanding, and the shared experience of working together in harmony with the land. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Thomas and Ayana sat quietly by the stream. The water reflected the colors of the sky, creating a peaceful and magical scene. Thomas spoke softly. "I never imagined a place like this existed. It is more than beautiful, it feels alive, full of lessons and full of people who care for each other and the land. I am grateful to be part of it, even in a small way." Ayana smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "You have learned much, Thomas. But the greatest lesson is understanding that everything has a purpose. The land, the water, the animals, and the people, they are all connected. Respect and care for them, and you will always find your place here." Thomas nodded, feeling the weight and the beauty of her words. He realized that the trials were not just tests of skill or courage, they were lessons in life. He had grown stronger, wiser, and more patient. He had learned to respect not only the tribe's rules but the deeper meaning behind them. And in doing so, he had found a new sense of belonging, a feeling that he had never experienced before. As the days passed, Thomas continued to assist the tribe in their daily activities, always learning and always showing respect. The elders began to speak more favorably of him, noting his dedication, honesty, and the care he showed in every task. Even the animals seemed to recognize his presence, responding calmly to his gentle handling. Thomas felt a deep sense of pride, not from personal achievement, but from being part of a community that valued harmony, respect, and understanding. Chief Nahoya observed Thomas closely, satisfied with the progress he had made. "Thomas," the chief said one evening, "you have faced trials that tested your strength, patience, and courage. You have shown respect for our people, our traditions, and the land. But the final trial is one of the heart. It is the choice to honor, understand, and protect all that you have learned. Only then will you be truly accepted." Thomas nodded solemnly. He knew that his journey was reaching its turning point. The trials had been challenging, but they had taught him invaluable lessons about life, respect, and the importance of understanding others. He felt ready to face whatever came next, guided by the wisdom of Chief Nahoya, the support of Ayana, and the lessons he had learned from the land itself. That night, Thomas lay beneath the stars, thinking about how far he had come. He had entered the valley as a stranger, unaware of the sacred rules and the depth of the traditions he was about to encounter. Now, he had faced numerous trials, grown closer to Ayanna, and earned the respect of the tribe. He understood that true strength came from humility, patience, and respect, and he knew that the final stage of his journey would be the most important yet, the test of his heart. The sacred stream flowed gently nearby, reflecting the silver light of the moon. Thomas felt a sense of peace and purpose. He had learned that the path to belonging was not easy, but it was meaningful. And as he drifted to sleep, he resolved to continue honoring the land, the people, and the traditions that had welcomed him into their world. His journey was far from over, but he was ready to face the final trial with courage, wisdom, and an open heart. The morning sun rose slowly over the valley, casting golden light on the sacred stream and the surrounding hills. Thomas woke with a sense of determination and quiet excitement. Today was the final stage of his journey, the moment when he would prove that he was ready to truly belong to the tribe. The previous trials had tested his strength, patience, and understanding, but now the greatest challenge awaited, one that would test the depth of his heart. Ayanna came to meet him at dawn. She carried a small bundle of sacred items used in the tribe's rituals, and her expression was calm yet serious. "Thomas," she said, "today you will face the last trial. It is not about strength or skill alone. You must demonstrate your understanding, your respect, and your willingness to honor our traditions fully. Are you ready?" Thomas nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility but also a quiet confidence. "Yes, Ayanna, I am ready," he said. He knew that this trial was not only about him, but also about proving that he could live in harmony with the tribe and their sacred land. Together, they walked to a special area near the stream where Chief Nahoya and the elders were waiting. The entire tribe had gathered, their expressions solemn but curious. Thomas felt both nervous and determined as he approached. Chief Nahoya stepped forward, his eyes scanning Thomas carefully. "Thomas," he said, "you have faced many trials. You have shown courage, patience, and respect. You have worked hard and learned our ways. But now, you must show your heart. You must demonstrate that you truly understand the meaning of our traditions and that your actions come from sincerity and respect." Thomas bowed respectfully. "I understand, Chief Nahoya. I will do my best," he said. He felt a deep sense of calm, knowing that his journey had prepared him for this moment. He looked at Ayanna, who nodded in encouragement. Together, they began the trial, which involved a series of tasks designed to test not only skill, but also wisdom, compassion, and understanding. The first task was to assist in preparing the ceremonial space for an upcoming celebration. Thomas carefully arranged stones, flowers, and sacred objects, following the guidance of Ayanna and the elders. He moved slowly and deliberately, making sure every item was placed with care. He could feel the importance of each step, understanding that the ceremony was not just a ritual, but a way to honor the ancestors and the land itself. Next, Thomas was asked to participate in a guided meditation by the stream, observing the flow of water, the rustling of the leaves, and the life that surrounded him. The elders explained that this exercise was to help him connect with the spirit of the land. Thomas closed his eyes, listening to the gentle gurgle of the stream and the soft whispers of the wind. He felt a deep sense of peace and understanding, realizing that respect for the land was not only about actions, but also about presence and mindfulness. After the meditation, Thomas faced a physical challenge. He was asked to help lift and move a large bundle of firewood to prepare for the evening ceremony. The wood was heavy, and the task required strength and coordination. Thomas worked alongside the warriors and other members of the tribe, carefully lifting and placing each piece. He focused on cooperation and teamwork, ensuring that every movement was deliberate and safe. Ayanna worked beside him, and together they completed the task successfully. With the physical and spiritual challenges complete, the final test was personal and symbolic. Chief Nahoya explained that Thomas would need to demonstrate his loyalty and sincerity, by making a promise to uphold the tribe's values and protect the land. Thomas stepped forward, feeling the eyes of the entire tribe upon him. He spoke clearly and earnestly, "I promise to respect the land, the water, and all living beings. I will honor the traditions of this tribe and act with honesty, courage, and compassion. I will do my best to be worthy of the trust you have placed in me." The chief studied Thomas carefully, his stern expression softening. He turned to the tribe, speaking in a low, firm voice. "This man has faced trials that tested his strength, patience, courage, and heart. He has shown respect, understanding, and sincerity. He has learned our ways and has proven that his actions are guided by honor and respect. Thomas is now accepted as a friend, a helper, and a part of our community." Thomas felt a wave of relief and gratitude wash over him. He bowed deeply to Chief Nahoya and the elders. "Thank you, Chief. I will not forget the lessons I have learned, and I will continue to honor your people and your land," he said. The tribe responded with warm nods and smiles, and Thomas felt a deep sense of belonging. After the formal acceptance, Ayana stepped forward. Her eyes were bright and a gentle smile played on her lips. "Thomas," she said softly, "you have shown courage, respect, and a sincere heart. You have earned not only the trust of my father and the tribe, but also my respect. You have worked hard and proven yourself worthy." Thomas felt a mixture of happiness and humility. He knew that this moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one filled with connection, understanding, and hope. The rest of the day was filled with celebration. The tribe gathered around the sacred stream, singing songs and sharing stories. Thomas participated in the rituals, feeling a sense of unity with the people and the land. The animals, the trees, and the water all seemed to be part of the celebration, and Thomas realized that this was more than a ceremony. It was a reflection of life, balance, and harmony. Throughout the day, Thomas and Ayana worked side by side, preparing food, arranging flowers, and helping the elders. They shared quiet moments of conversation, laughter, and understanding. Their bond had grown naturally, built on shared experiences, mutual respect, and the lessons of the trials. Thomas admired Ayana's wisdom, strength, and kindness, while Ayana saw his courage, sincerity, and determination. Together, they felt a connection that went beyond words, a friendship that hinted at something deeper. As the sun began to set, painting the valley with warm colors, Chief Nahoya called everyone to the sacred stream for the final part of the celebration. Thomas stood beside Ayana, feeling the weight and significance of the moment. The chief spoke to the tribe, explaining the importance of respect, harmony, and understanding. He emphasized that the stream was sacred, not because it was water alone, but because it represented life, connection, and the traditions that bound the community together. Thomas listened carefully, reflecting on everything he had learned. He thought about his first day in the valley, when he had unknowingly bathed in the sacred stream. He remembered the fear, the confusion, and the lessons that had followed. He realized how much he had grown, not just in skill or strength, but in understanding, patience, and respect for others. Every trial, every lesson, and every moment with Ayana and the tribe had shaped him into a better person. Chief Nahoya then addressed Thomas directly. "You have honored our traditions, respected our land, and shown courage, patience, and wisdom. You have proven yourself worthy of our trust. You are now fully accepted by our tribe." Thomas bowed deeply, feeling a sense of pride and humility. "Thank you, Chief Nahoya. I am honored, and I will continue to respect and protect this land and your people," he said. The chief smiled slightly, a rare softness in his stern expression. He turned to Ayana and said, "You have seen his heart and his dedication. You will continue to guide him and share your wisdom. Together, you may build a future rooted in respect, understanding, and care." Ayana nodded, her eyes meeting Thomas's. There was a silent understanding between them, a shared acknowledgement of the journey they had completed and the bond that had grown naturally over time. As night fell, the tribe continued the celebration with songs, dances, and laughter. Thomas joined in, feeling a sense of belonging and joy he had never known before. He moved among the people, helping where needed, sharing in their stories and participating in the rituals. The sacred stream flowed gently nearby, reflecting the light of the moon and stars. Thomas felt a deep connection to the land, the tribe, and the life that surrounded him. Later, as the celebration wound down, Thomas and Ayanna sat quietly by the stream. The moonlight shimmered on the water, and the sounds of the night filled the valley. "Thank you, Ayanna," Thomas said softly, "for guiding me, teaching me, and showing me your world. I have learned so much, and I feel honored to be part of this tribe." Ayanna smiled gently. "You have worked hard, Thomas. You have shown courage, respect, and a sincere heart. You have earned your place here, and I am glad to have shared this journey with you. Remember, respect, understanding, and care are what make a person truly strong." Thomas nodded, feeling the depth of her words. He realized that his life had changed forever. What had begun as a simple mistake, bathing in the sacred stream, had led to a journey of growth, understanding, and connection. He had faced trials, learned valuable lessons, and formed bonds that would last a lifetime. Most importantly, he had learned the meaning of respect for people, for the land, and for life itself. The night grew quiet, and Thomas and Ayanna remained by the stream, sharing the calm and beauty of the valley. The stars reflected in the water, and the gentle flow of the stream seemed to whisper stories of the past and hope for the future. Thomas knew that he had found not only a place of belonging, but also a deeper understanding of life, courage, and the importance of honoring what is sacred. In the days that followed, Thomas continued to live and work alongside the tribe, now fully accepted and respected. He and Ayanna spent time together, learning from each other, sharing stories, and building a connection rooted in trust, respect, and affection. The sacred stream remained a symbol of the journey, the trials, and the growth that had transformed him. Thomas realized that life was not about rushing or taking for oneself, but about patience, respect, and understanding. He had entered the valley as a stranger and left it as a part of something greater, a community, a culture, and a way of life that valued harmony, honor, and connection. And as he stood by the sacred stream, looking at the flowing water under the sun, he felt a sense of peace, pride, and hope for the future.